Hey, this is Lorena, and I wanted to do a video for you on how to put EdgeRider wheels on your longarm quilting machine. Now, I did this quite a while back, and I had my husband helping me putting them on, and I'm so glad that he did help me, but it made editing the video really complicated because we were struggling. And one of the reasons we were struggling is because the EdgeRider wheels only came in with 8 wheels, and what that did is on my longarm quilting machine, on where the machine sits, I don't know if that's a glider, I don't know the name, okay? That glider thing where the machine sits on, where my longarm sits on, where it goes forward and back and side to side, on the frame of that it had 6 wheels. And then the machine itself had 4 wheels, and EdgeRider only sent me 8 wheels, so we were missing 2 wheels, kind of. But the company EdgeRider, or the company that I got the wheels from, what they wanted you to use is to use 2 of your wheels that were on the frame, which complicated the circumstance because you had to move the wheels forward to get them in line with the EdgeRider wheels. Okay, so it made the change a little bit harder, a little bit more complicated, and so I wanted to share that before I opened the video and started showing you how we did it so that you kind of understand. Now, the company that I bought the EdgeRider wheels, they supplied everything, the nuts, the bolts, the washers, and everything to do this transition. The only thing is it was a little bit confusing on reading the instructions. So I hope maybe if you do decide to do this on your longarm quilting machine, this video kind of helps you. So yeah, I hope you like this video. Okay, so let me just share with you some of the supplies you're going to need. You're going to need a set of Allen wrenches. The one we used, and I'm reading on a piece of paper, is the 1/16 Allen wrench and the 7/64 Allen wrench. Yeah, so we used some Allen wrenches to deal with the encoder, and also we used a wrench that was a 7/16 and a socket ratchet, or a socket for the ratchet, which is a 7/16, to go ahead and remove the nut that is in the encoder. Okay, here you see that I rolled up my bar all the way up. I do not have a quilt on there, and the reason is you're going to take off the machine, off the glider, that's what I'm going to call it, and then you're going to flip the glider backwards to be able to turn and put on the wheels. Now, in my kit, I ended up getting 6 regular wheels and 2 wheels that go in the front area of the glider. And it was a little bit confusing because I thought I was missing 2 wheels. So 4 wheels go on the machine itself, 2 on the back of the glider, and those 2 with the yellow label on the front of the glider. I also got some bolts, some lock nuts, and all the supplies came with it. Also with this kit, it came with some thin washers and some thick washers so that you can align your wheels, they call them parky wheels, to the EdgeRiders, okay? So what we're going to do is, this is what it looks like to put on the EdgeRider wheels, and I just wanted to show you the clip of it because I didn't have videos. What ended up happening is I'm going to use 2 of my wheels, and they call them parking wheels. And we're going to go ahead and add 2 thick washers and a thin washer to bring the wheel forward so it's in alignment with the EdgeRider. And here you see my husband loosening the wheel and going ahead and using one of the bolts they provided, and we're adding those washers. And then you see him add the wheel, and then he said they're like locked nuts, so these nuts literally lock in the wheel, and you see him go ahead and screw it on and lock it in place. As we were adding these wheels, you also still had to add the 2 thicker washers and the thin washer so that it's aligned with the EdgeRider wheel. But what that created is the bolt started hitting the arm of the encoder. Now let's talk about the encoder. The encoder is what regulates your stitches if you have a stitch regulator. And if you don't have the encoder right, it affects how your long arm quilting stitches. It does these weird jump stitches. If the encoder does not sit in a way where it glides on the wheel, or if it falls, it will affect your stitch regulator or it will affect your stitching. So I'm showing you this because I don't think I got a good enough view when I was videotaping when he was doing it. And so he literally got an Allen wrench and popped this open, and the spring itself sprung this encoder out a little bit to allow it to move forward so that it sat on the encoder the way it needs to be. So here you could see that he's loosening that area with an Allen wrench. And what happens is that it has a spring and it pushes that arm of the encoder outwards, which allows us not to be hitting that bolt that we extended on the wheel. And what he's doing now is he's trying to make sure that that arm does not hit that parking wheel that we extended out. And also this is when we realized that the encoder needed to be pushed forward so that it's on the EdgeRider. As you can see, he's pushing up and down and he realizes that it's kind of loose. And the next part is where we're going to tighten that area up. Unscrew this area right here. And once you pull that out, there's a nut deep down in there. I hope you can see it where my nail is. There is a nut right here. And then you loosen that nut and it gives you the ability to move this forward. So here you see my husband is loosening that area with an Allen wrench, and it gives you the ability to pop out that circle area that has that gasket. Here I'm showing you what the screw looks like, and he gets a wrench and unscrews the screw. Now we had to do this a couple times because he didn't push the encoder far enough. And when he put that wheel back on, you could see that when he snapped the encoder down, it was a little bit loose. Like you see it right there. We also had to go back and loosen it again, and he pushed it as far forward as he could, but then it was a little bit tight. So he had to do this a couple times to get it just right. You don't want the encoder to be too tight on the wheel. You want it to be able to kind of rest on it. But when you have it right, when you rotate the EdgeRider wheel, the encoder should rotate also. And that's when you know that you got it in a good position. In the kit, I found 2 wheels that had a yellow label, and these are the front wheels for my glider. They have a center spacer, and that's what makes them different. And in this video, you're going to see my husband take off my old wheels and add the new ones. And on this opposite side, you're going to see how that spacer moves the wheel backwards and forwards, I guess. After that, we got my glider. That's what I'm calling it because I don't know the name for sure. And we flipped it over and we made sure the wheels were working. Now you can see that those wheels that used to work are now considered parking wheels and they don't move. Now it's time to add the wheels on the machine. They had some bolts that had coarse thread and some fine thread, and they vary for every machine, I guess. So they gave us 8 of them. You only need 4. And we went ahead and put the wheels on the long arm machine. It didn't take a lot of time to do this. As a matter of fact, this is like the finishing line. You're almost done. And what my husband did is he got a ratchet to hold the wheel, so when he loosened it, it didn't rotate. And here you see him tightening up the wheel again. He also did the same thing when he loosened them. Now we have the machine on the glider, and we're checking out if they make a huge difference. I also wanted to share why I changed my wheels to EdgeRiders. They said they were better, that your machine didn't click, 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 click. I honestly don't know, but my wheels, I've had my machine since 2008. You can see, and hopefully you can see it, you can see that it's popping like on the frame here. And I don't know if you can see it. On the frame here, the wheel itself was kind of coming off this area was coming off the wheel, and that's why I replaced them. I really do hope that this video is helpful for you. I'm deciding if you want to put the EdgeRider wheels. I'm so glad that my husband's a mechanic, because he really did help. I think I would have had a nervous breakdown if I was trying to figure out by myself. I had to read and reread the instructions. It's not that they were hard to understand. It kind of made it a little bit confusing when you were missing 2 wheels. I kind of wish that they would have provided all the wheels, and this way it would have been a lot less confusing. So I really do hope this helps you. Okay, see you on the next one. Okay, bye. So this is what they look like on the machine. And it's true, it doesn't wobble anymore. And it does glide on the machine very nicely.